Hello and welcome to a Twistedtools demo video for Colorflex. This is the zone parameters video, and in this video I'll explain what all the knobs and menus do that you find in each of the colored zones parameters section. Colorflex has many parameters you could set to manipulate your sequences. The MIDI note sequencer has a different set of parameters than the IC send sequencer and the CC sequencer, though some of the functionality is identical. Let's begin by looking at the MIDI note sequencer parameters. Depending on which cell mode is active, you will see a different set of parameters. In melodic rose mode, you have the following parameters. Key determines the root key for the scale snapping feature below it. In the scale menu, you could set the grid up so that all cells will be in a certain musical key. The key and scale setting is applied to all colors. For example, I will set up a chromatic run for the red sequencer and change the scales. First, listen with no scale setting on. Now listen with Aeolian or minor mode. Next, let's look at hold. Hold will determine the length of time a note is held for. Swing will allow you to advance or delay 16th notes to alter the feel or groove. Variate will change the order of the cell playback consistently to give you a variation of the riff. This is not random. Once the setting is set, the sequence will always play back that way. Ran step is a randomization amount control that will randomly alter which cell is triggered. The higher the amount, the more random you get. VH is the amount that cell velocity determines the hold length. P to H is the amount that note pitch will affect the hold length. Speed determines the playback speed for that color. Channel number determines the channel output for the sequence. Min note determines the lowest note in the sequence. And max note determines the highest note in the sequence. The parameters are all the same for trigger rose mode, except that there's only a base note number to choose from, rather than a min note and a max note. For trigger mode, the existing parameters are the same as trigger rose mode, except that the note number is applied to all cells rather than rows. Next, let's look at the MIDI CC parameters. You'll notice that the MIDI CC knob parameters are mostly the same as the MIDI note sequencer parameters, so I will only discuss the unique parameters. The glide parameter sets the glide time between active cells so that CC automation is smooth. Min-max parameters set the minimum and maximum CC value output by that colored zone. CC number determines the continuous controller message that is sent by that color. Channel number determines the channel the CC is sent out on. Reso determines the resolution of the control. Higher resolution will result in smoother data being sent, but will eat up more of your MIDI bandwidth and may cause stuck notes or latency. If you're only using one CC message, then you could set it fairly high without issue. Otherwise, you'll need to strike a good balance and set the levels according to the load. Lastly, let's look at the IC send sequencer parameters. These are identical to the MIDI CC parameters, except that there is an IC send destination menu. You could choose where you'd like the data sent for that color by selecting a destination from the menu. You could send each zone's sequence to as many destinations as you like, and you could even route data back into Colorflex for self-modulation.